In today's video, I'm going to be remaking one of my favorite maps from BTD Battles 2. So my favorite map in BTD Battles 2 is Mayan. Now, Mayan is one of those maps that I really enjoyed playing whenever I played at BTD Battles 2, but it should be a pretty difficult task to actually make a accurate reproduction of a Mayan into the BTD6 Map Editor. So for this, I really don't know what background I want to use. I think I want to stick with something like this because there's a little bit more detail in the back. And of course, as you guys know, the BTD Battles 2 map, Mayan, really doesn't have a lot of detail on the map itself. Other than, of course, like having the cement background and, of course, like the vines and the leaves in the background, but I'll do my best to go ahead and make a picture of that. So the first thing we have to do is we have to create a pathway. So if we take a look at the pathway for Mayan, the pathway for Mayan is kind of like a darker pathway. So the only pathway that I see in here is going to be this pathway right here. I think this is going to look the best. Let me take a look at a couple of the other pathways really quick. So we have a couple of different options here. And I was going to originally choose this pathway here, but I think this one looks a little bit better with our background. So let's go ahead and get rid of the path that we're not going to use. So now we need to actually make our actual pathway. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this path, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now, because this is a BTD6 and not BTD Battles 2, I need to make these pathways connect. All right, so this is going to be the basic layout of our map. Well, at least one path in the layout. So what I want to do is I want to connect the two pathways. That way they intersect here in the middle. And then it's going to go ahead and exit on the opposite side of the map. Now, because the map looks a little bit wacky and wonky here, we need to go ahead and edit and fix all of these pathways. So that way they look a little bit better. So the first thing we need to do is we need to change this top left pylon because right now it wants to start the balloons over here on the left, but I want the balloons to come in from the top. So we'll go ahead and place this pylon right here. We'll go ahead and adjust it so it's vertically. And then we need to go ahead and change this pylon down here so it's a little bit better because I want to make the map look a little bit more, what's that word? Systematic, not systematic. I don't know. You guys know the word I'm trying to think of. It begins with a letter and ends with a letter. Let's just go ahead and continue off of making these pathways a little bit more squared up, I guess. That's the word I'm going to be using because I can't think of the other word. All right, so we'll go ahead and make it squared up and bring you guys back here in just a second. All right, so there we go. This is going to be the squared up version. Right now, this side's still looking a little bit wonky, so let me go ahead and change the position of this pylon. That way it looks similar to the right-hand side of the map. All right, and overlooking it really quick, I want to go ahead and move this pylon over a little bit because there's a little bit more room on the left-hand side than there is on the right. And I want this to be a little bit more, I can't think of the word, guys. I can't think of the word. You guys have to let me know in the comments below because I know you guys know it, but I can't think of it. It's like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't say it. All right, let's go ahead and jump into creating the other path. All right, so this is what my map is going to look like. So now we need to go ahead and square up all of these edges. And guys, it's really bothering me that I can't think of that word. Like, I want to say the word, but it's just not coming out of my mouth, dudes. Like, have you guys ever had that problem where you're like trying to think of a word and you guys know the word? It's like on the tip of your tongues, but you can't seem to make your mouth say the word. Man, it's really bothering me, dudes. Like, I don't know why I can't think of the word. Like, is synonymous, not synonymous, not a, I can't think of it, guys. You guys will just have to let me know in the comments below what word I'm trying to think of because it's in my brain place. I know you guys know what I'm trying to think of, but I just can't like get the words to come out of my mouth. All right, so let's go ahead and continue to square these up really quick. Now we are gonna have a little issue down here in the bottom of the map because in the bottom of the map, because this path really doesn't want to overlap too well. Because you guys can clearly tell that there is a different path over top of this path. And I want to like kind of blend in a bit more. Also, I realized that this path is way harder to like square up. I don't know why, but this path just doesn't want to like have those square edges like the other pathways. But then again, I say square edges, but I complain about the same thing every time I make a map. All right, let's go ahead. Which side or which way do I have these facing? Let's go ahead and make it so that they're similar on both sides. And let me see. How close is this one? I think that should be good, right? I think that looks good. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at it and see how it looks. I think for the most part, that's about as good as we're gonna get. So the next thing I want to do is on the map of Mayan, there is a water feature on both sides of the map that is like set here in the center of the map. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and recreate the water features on both sides of the maps, but I'm gonna add a little bit of a twist. So because this is a map that I'm making in Bloons TD6, I'm gonna go ahead and make it so the map is like a T shape. So we'll have the map come down here like this, and then we'll have it come up here, over here, over here, over here, over here, and then back down to the bottom. And I think this should make the map look pretty good. It'll definitely add a little bit of color to the map, which is what this map is really lacking right now. Well, it's not lacking color, is more like it's like lacking depth or detail. I don't know, guys. Like, I'm getting my words all discombobulated today. And then we'll go ahead and place it over here. There we go. Now, one problem that we're gonna have is I don't want the water to be like touching the side of the map, but I don't think there's anything that I can really do about it. Unless I like round the corners off. I think that's the only thing I can really do. So I guess we're gonna have like a rounded pool, which isn't exactly what I wanted, but again, we have to put up with certain things, especially in the map editor. So it'll look more like a wavy pool, which there's nothing wrong with a wavy pool. It's just not exactly what I was gonna go for. And like I mentioned before, I hope that Ninja Kiwi like incorporates a system where we could actually like draw the different like things on the map instead of like having to use these pylons, because these pylons aren't bad. They're good for the first version of the map editor, but I hope they refine it a little bit more in the next update. All right, so I think that's gonna be about the best that we can get. Right now it's looking like the logo from the Teen Titans. All right, so now that we have the water feature in the center of the map, next thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit more detail to the back of the actual paths. So we have a couple of different options. The first option is to use this square icon, and then we can put it in the back of the map, kind of similar to what I did in the wall video that I did, where I recreated the map in the wall from BTD Battles 2 and with the BTD6 Map Editor. All right, another thing I need to do that I just noticed is that this path is tilting a little bit to the left here. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to fix that really quick. All right, so I want it to be a little bit more like horizontal here. Is it horizontal or is it vertical? I have no idea, dudes. Like I said, I'm getting my words all mixed up today. All right, let's just go ahead. First thing we need to do, we need to come over here. We need to create a new stamps layer. So this stamps layer, I'm going to go ahead and place below the pathways. And then we're going to go ahead and see how the square shadow looks in the background. Honestly, it doesn't look good. It does not look good with this style of pathway. So let's go ahead and get rid of this and we'll try something else. So what if I tried using these bones? What if I tried to using these bones for the pathway? How would that look? First thing I need to do is I need to go ahead and change the layer up a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and try to see if these bones would look good on the pathway or not. I mean, if I could change the size, I think it would look all right, but it's just not the vibe I'm going for. The next thing we can do, maybe we could try to like make an area behind these maps. Maybe by making an area, it would look a little bit better. That's not what I want to do. I want to keep that water. All right, we need to go ahead and create a brand new area. So how would this look as like a background behind these pathways? Now, this is going to get really tedious if I have to like make this behind all of the pathways, but if I have to do it, I have to do it because I want my map to look good. Honestly, not feeling it. Not feeling it with the sand, but maybe if we swap it over to this. I guess that's kind of the similar thing to what the shadow looked like with a little bit more detail along the sides. I think we're just gonna have to like put up with the sand background here, guys. I don't think I could do anything that will make a massive difference here, but I do need to add more detail. Now, the first thing that I want to do, if you guys know from the Mayans map in BTD Battles 2, there are a bunch of leaves that pop out from the side of the map, and that's actually something we can recreate. And we can recreate those effects with these leaves right here. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take a look at the Mayan map once again, and then we'll place these leaves around the map. Now, we seem to have run into another issue here, and the issue is that all of the leaves here are facing the same direction. Like, we don't have any varying direction here. They're all like tilted to the left side. So it's like I can't like make a opposite leaf on the other side of the map. I just have to do it with the same kind of leaf. And why can't I click on any of these leaves? Did I do something wrong here? Let me go ahead and see why I can't click on this leaf up here. I'm like so confused. Like, the hitbox for this is like super weird. Like, can I even get rid of this leaf? Okay, there it is. Okay, I finally found it after like clicking all over the place. That was like super weird. All right, let's just go ahead and we'll just use this leaf here. We'll go ahead and move it this way. And then we'll try our best to like make it look similar to the other side of the map. All right, I think that should do pretty well. And then the next thing we need to do, dude, like these leaf hitboxes are like super weird. All right, next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and make another leaf over here. And we'll have it facing this way. We'll go ahead and tilt it a little bit to the side. That way it has a little bit more something to it. And then let's go ahead, we'll get rid of this leaf because I don't plan on using this leaf because it's a little bit too dark. And then we'll go ahead and just stick with like these leaves or this leaf style. Let's go ahead, we'll make more leaves down here. And honestly, guys, I'm not feeling these leaves, guys. Like, I'm not feeling them because they just look kind of like out of place. I think it might be because of the background. Let me change the background really quick to see if we can like make it look a little bit better. This side, if I use this side, I would have to use a different style of leaf. This is that doesn't look good at all. What about like using a water background? The water background doesn't look good. Our only other option is like this style of background. But if we use this style of background, then we're gonna have to use a different pathway. So what if we did this and we like used a different path? I don't know, guys. Like I'm just not feeling it. Let's try this pathway. This pathway looks a little bit better. The only thing we would have to do is we'd have to like move the pathways a little bit. That way they aren't intersecting with like our water feature in the middle of the map, which that's not too hard to do at all. There we go. So we added a little bit of distance in between the pathways here and the water feature. So actually, you know what? I think I may actually try to pursue this a little bit more. All right, guys. I know I really wanted to use these vines, but for my redo of Mayan, I think I'm gonna go with a different style of leaf because this just does not look good. Like, and I know this is before I add any detail to the map itself, but if it doesn't look good when there's no detail, it's not gonna look it's just gonna look mediocre once we start adding detail. So instead of using those leaf props, I'm gonna go ahead and use these leaf props instead. Now, it's going to take away from, like, the actual style of the Mayan temple, but this is just, like, a kind of a custom remake of the Mayan map from BTD Battles 2 to BTD6. So I'm going to go ahead and make some adjustments where I think adjustments need to be made. So instead of using the vines, I'm going to go ahead and use this style of a leaf instead. And then because we swapped around the style of leaf that we're using, we can actually change the background back over to this style of leaf. Because, I mean, it is fall, it's October, it's starting to become winter time. So let's go ahead and base our style of map on the fact that it's autumn right now. And then because we're changing the style of leaves that we're using and the background, let's go ahead and change the pathway as well. So let's change the pathway over to this. I think this looks really, really good. Now, this one looks really bad with the intersecting pathways, but I mean, we can only work with the tools that we're given, so we're gonna go ahead and do what we can with this pathway. I mean, it doesn't look bad, so I think it still looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and add a couple of effects to try and take away from the fact that the paths look a little bit wonky as they're overlapping. Oh yeah, that looks way better. All right, let's just go ahead and we'll add some more leaves in the bottom right and the bottom left and the bottom right. So after we get done placing these leaves in the bottom, the next thing I want to do is I want to come up with something to put in the middle here. So I'm not exactly sure what to put in the middle right now. Maybe we'll do something like a rock feature because I really like rock features because they add a lot of detail to our map. All right, there we go. We have the 4 trees on the sides of the map. Now, what do we want to add in the middle here? I was thinking about like making a massive custom tree, but I don't know how that would look. Let me go ahead and find like the normal like thing that I use to make my custom trees, and we'll see if we can make it work. I shall go ahead and put this log here. Oh, I don't know, guys. I don't think this is going to be the option that I'm going for here. Let me go ahead and tilt it this way. That way, hopefully it looks a little bit better. We can add some shrubs around the bottom of the tree once we get the leaves in place to add a little bit more detail. Or to take away from the fact that this prop looks absolutely out of place. Like, I don't know where I could actually use this prop to make it seem like it's in place, but right now it's just like so out of place. And on top of that, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to use this prop because right now, oh wait, I need to go ahead and tilt it back. We need to tilt it back because right now, no, like there's like nothing we can do with this prop. Let me go ahead and change the size of it. But if I change the size of it, then like my leaf prop is just gonna be like completely pointless. Let me go ahead and tilt it and see if we can make it like so it's like on top of the tree. No, so that's out. Let's go ahead. We'll move this leaf out of the way really quick. And then we'll go ahead and choose the other tree option that I use and see if we can make it the other tree option work. All right, so attempt number 2 is this. Oh, there we go. This is a little bit better. All right, let's go ahead and make it as big as we can make it, and then we'll move it down a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and see if we can get this tree branch. I said it looked good. All right. We can work with this. As long as we can get it on top of the tree, that's the main thing. So I can actually turn this into an actual tree. All right, so we have our first tree, or our first, like a couple of leaves placed down. Now we're gonna go ahead and rotate this. We'll go ahead and make it so like it's facing the opposite direction. We'll make it look like this. We'll make it a little bit smaller because like not all branches are like the same size. So we'll go ahead and make it look like this, and then we'll go ahead and copy this, and we'll have it facing out the backside as well to add a little bit more detail. Then we'll tilt it a little bit. We need to tilt it to the back a little bit more. Let's go ahead and move it so it's a little bit back like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and make one more over here, but I only want the edge of this prop to be sticking out in the very back. There we go. We just want the edge to stick out like I was saying, just like so. And then we need to add another branch like right here in the center. I want the very bottom of the tree to still be visible so like you guys can see that it's a tree in the middle of the map. So let's go ahead and make one more copy. We'll go ahead and move it over here, and then we need to rotate it once again. And we'll rotate it a little bit more, and then we need to rotate it back, and then we need to move this back. And then we want the very bottom of the tree to still be visible. All right, and I think for a custom-made tree, I think that looks all right. Let me go ahead and move this a little bit. That way we can still see the bottom of the tree like this. And then, of course, you guys already know what's coming. It's shrub time. So let's go ahead and add a couple of shrubs here because you guys know I love me some shrubs. We'll go ahead and place a shrub here, make it a little bit smaller. I think that's a little bit too bright for fall. So we'll go ahead and change the shrub over to the dark shrub like this. And then the darker shrub will actually add to the effect once we start adding shades. All right, so there we go. We added a couple of shrubs underneath the tree. Now we need to start adding a little bit more detail. Now, I usually add like flowers and stuff like that to this style of map, but obviously if I like place flowers on this style of map, it's just not going to look good, guys. Like these type of flowers do not go on a leaf background. So instead of adding the flowers, what I'm going to add is I'm going to switch over to the leaves. And this is something that I wanted to use for a while, but because I've been using like the green backgrounds and the water backgrounds, I really haven't had a proper choice to use like the autumn leaves. And I'm actually going to use these leaves to hide a bunch of the imperfections with the actual map. So we'll add a leaf pile here. We'll add another leaf pile here to kind of cover up the like imperfections that come with like crossing the pathways with this style of path. And then once we cover up all of the imperfections, that's when we'll start going into a little bit more detail. And I think that should about do it for the imperfections. So we'll add a couple more leaves along the pathway here. And then after we add a couple more leaves here, maybe we'll add a couple of leaves like in the water effect because there will be leaves that like float on top of water once like autumn hits. So let's go ahead and add a couple more leaves to the actual pathway here. We'll add a couple more leaves that like are like half on water, half on the side of the water like this. And then let's just go ahead and keep adding leaves across the map. Man, like placing these leaves on the map like brings me back to when I was a kid. And I used to have to like rake up leaves in my front yard. Like it was like so annoying, but at the same time, whenever we would like burn the leaves in our front yard, we were like pile up, not burn them, but once we like piled the leaves like in our driveway in preparations to burn them, we always used to like jump into the leaf piles because it was like so much fun. And like looking back on it, it was like not as fun as I remembered it, but it was actually fun back when I was doing it. I don't know, guys. Like let me know in the comments below if you guys like ever used to like jump into like piles of leaves, or if you guys jump into a pile of leaves right now. All right, there we go. And I think that should do it for the leaves. We added a little bit of effects in the background. Now we need to go ahead and add a couple of different effects because like all of these pile of leaves, yeah, they're cool, but now it's just starting to look like a little bit of clutter, but I don't want it to look like clutter. So we'll add a couple of different style of leaves, and I'll place these leaves to make it seem like the leaves that are on the map right now were actually part of the original background. And that should do it for this style of leaves. Again, I just wanted to like place it to kind of break out the leaves that I strewn throughout the entire map. And now that I went ahead and broke up the leaves a little bit, and now let's go ahead and add a couple of features to the water in the center of the map, because right now it just like looks like it doesn't belong. So let's add a couple of these water effects because these water effects look really cool. and they're a really good stamp to add a little bit of detail to the water features or water in general, because it makes it seem like that it belongs on the map a little bit more. All right, so now that we've added a couple of details there, let's go ahead, come over here. What else can we add? Because right now, it's adding a little bit more detail, and we're making the water feature blend a little bit more into the map, but it still looks a little bit out of place. So one thing that I think will help with that is, what if we edit this water area here and we actually made it like wave a bit? Because having that straight line just didn't seem right. That looks way better. All right, so now that we've done that, the next thing I want to do, I don't know if I want to add lily pads. The lily pads, I don't feel like they would belong here, but you know what? Let's go ahead and add a couple, just because I think they would add a little bit to the actual map itself. Now, I'm not going to go crazy with the lily pads, because if I go crazy with it, I feel like it wouldn't like fit the theme that I'm going for. Like, I'm not trying to go for like a swamp or anything like that. I just want to add a little bit of a water feature in the middle of the map, because of course this is a recreation of the Map Mayan. All right, I think that should do it for the lily pads. Let's go ahead and try to add a flower into the lily pads to see if that fits. Not really. They do have another lily pad here that has a flower on it, but flowers are more associated with like spring, so I don't think the flower effect would fit. One effect that we could go ahead and place is we could add a couple of cattails here. Now, the cattails I think are like a year-long thing. Like, even in the wintertime, there will still be like cattails poking out of like a frozen pond. So I think we're safe by adding the cattails. Now, again, I'm not going to go crazy with these cattails. I just want to add a little bit more detail to the pond, because now the pond is like starting to blend in a little bit more, and I just want to add to that a little bit. And there we go. We added a couple of cattails, and now that looks pretty good. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to add a couple more shrubs, because right now the shrubs in the center of the map, they just like look so out of place. But where are we going to add the shrubs? Now, I mentioned earlier about rock effects. I really like using rocks in my map, because to me, it makes it feel like the map comes to life a little bit more. So what I'll do is I'll add a couple of rocks. Now, the style of rock that I want to go for, let's just test a couple of different rock effects out. I think the style of rock that I'm going to go for is I'm just going to go with this rock, because this rock just seems to like fit on every map. And of course, we'll go ahead and add a rock like this. We'll go ahead and copy this rock. We'll go ahead and make some intersecting rocks, because you guys know whenever there's a rock, like the rocks will like always be like piled up. So I always like to make my rocks look like it's a pile of rocks. Now that we have rocks on this side, let's go ahead and add a couple more rocks over here to kind of like even it out. Symmetrical. That's the word that I was thinking about from earlier. It was symmetrical. Bro, why couldn't I think about that word? Don't you just hate that? Like, you'll be thinking about a word all day, and then all of a sudden they'll just like randomly pop in your head. And that's the same thing that just happened to me. Oh man, I can't believe I couldn't think of that word, or it was stuck on the tip of my tongue for so long. Well, I'm glad I eventually got it out. So now you guys know I'm not just crazy, right? Isn't it so dumb? Like, that's how like the human brain works, or at least that's how my brain works. I don't know if my brain works the same as other human brains, but that's how my brain works. Like, I'll be like trying to think of a word, and then like I'll completely forget about what I was talking about, and then like at a random point in the day, it'll just like pop right into my head. That is like the weirdest thing ever. All right, there we go. So we now have a second pile of rocks. I made this pile of rocks a little bit different than my original one. And now the next thing I want to do is I want to add a couple of shrubs, because of course, like I was saying, I want to make sure that these shrubs add a little bit more color, and I don't want these shrubs in the center of the map to seem out of place. All right, so there we go. We added a couple of shrubs around these two rock features, and I think that makes the rocks look a little bit better. But right now, they still look a little bit out of place. So let's see if we can find something to fix that. The next thing that I can think of is by using grass. With this grass, let's see which looks best with the background. We have white grass, we have multicolored grass, we have tan grass, we have this style of grass, we have a green grass, we have a light green grass, we have a lighter green grass, we have dingy grass. There's so many different options for grass here, but I don't know which one I should go with. And I don't want to place more because I have to go through and delete all of these. What about this one? How would that look? Because what I'm looking for is a grass that would like blend the green in with the background. Actually, you know what? Let me come over here to the eraser and let me erase the leaves that were underneath the rock here. I think by erasing those leaves, it'll look a little bit better. Don't want to erase the leaves over here. And I think that looks a little bit better, I guess. Let me see. Is there anything under stamps that would like work? I guess that kind of works, but I don't know. I guess that would kind of like represent like a pile of dead leaves. Let me try it. Let me go ahead and encircle the rock with this style of like stamp to see if this will make a little bit of a difference. Honestly, you know what? I think that makes it blend in way better. Let me go ahead and get rid of this. Let me try adding a shadow to see if the shadow will add a little bit more of a blending effect. It does, but I think the other stamp worked a little bit better. So let me go ahead and place the shadow effect behind the rock first, and then I'm going to go ahead and do what I was doing, and I'm going to go ahead and use this. All right, I think by adding that stamp, it made the rock effect blend into the background just a little bit more. Like, it's still out there because I'm using this style of rock, but I think it looks way better now. All right, so now the next thing I need to do, I need to go ahead and remove these darn grass things that I placed because these grass things are, like, not what I was going for. Plus, they really don't fit with the leaves background. Like, I'm already having trouble, like, trying to blend in the rock with the background. I don't need these dumb grass things to go ahead and try to make my life a little bit harder. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with the other rock as well. So I made this side a little bit more prominent, and I really like the way that looks. Let me make this side a little bit more prominent as well. There we go. That looks way better. Let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and come back over here to the shade. Let's go ahead and add a little bit darker shade. And I hate this pop-up because I'm not able to like place or see behind it, but it goes away, so it's fine. I think that should be about it for shade there. Let's go ahead and add shade over here underneath the tree. Actually, I want this to be a little bit darker this time. Like, usually I go pretty light, but I really like the dark aspect on this style of map. All right, cool. So what else do we want to add here? Because again, it's looking a little bit dingy over here. Let me go ahead and copy this, and we'll add a couple of like smaller shrubs around these shrubs. There we go. Now, the next thing I want to do, let's go ahead and add ourselves a rock right here. I want to add a rock because right now this side still looks a little bit off, but if we add a rock, it should take away from this like kind of like bland line that we have going with the pond. Like, I was hoping that the lily pads and the cattails would have taken away from it, but it's still there. All right, there we go. So we add a little bit of a rock feature here. Let's go ahead and move these lily pads a little bit. That way it's not like underneath the rock. There we go. Now the next thing I want to add, let's go ahead and add a couple more cattails over next to the rocks now. That way it kind of like breaks up the rock because we really can't add too many shrubs, like especially on the side of the water. So we'll add a couple of cattails to like take away or to add a little bit more of a detail to the actual rock. There we go. That looks way better. All right, let's go ahead. We'll add a couple of shrubs on the opposite side of the rock, like so. And we'll go ahead and make these shrubs a little bit on the small side because we already have the cattails and we have the shrubs next to this tree. All right, that's looking way better. The next thing I want to add, let's go ahead. We'll add a couple of fallen trees. But the question is, which fallen tree do we want to use? Do we want to use this one or do we want to use the other one? Because we have a little bit of a darker aspect with the shrubs as well as the backgrounds of these rocks, let's go ahead and go with this one. So we'll add like the broken tree. We'll add one broken tree right here. To kind of like make this map a little bit harder. I'm not going to make this like a super hard map, but I do want to make it a little bit more challenging. So maybe we'll add like another rock over here. We'll like tilt it this way, or not rock, but log. And we'll tilt it this way and we'll have like the balloons go through the actual rock, or not rock, but log. All right, there we go. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side of the map as well. There we go. That looks good. Actually, I think that's gonna look a little weird when the balloons go through it. So let's go ahead and nix that. What else can we add? So we added a log here. I guess we can add a couple of shrubs next to the log. Man, I'm just using a lot of shrubs here, guys. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead. We'll do shrub here. We'll do another shrub over here. We'll make it a little bit smaller. We'll add another shrub like this. And then we'll add another shrub on the other side of the log. That way it seems like there's a shrub behind it. There we go. That looks a little better. Then of course we need to add ourselves a couple of shade effects behind it. And for this one, we'll use the smaller shade. There we go. Then we'll also add some shade around this rock here. And that looks way better. Because it's autumn time, I'm not going to put any fish in this pond. Because usually during the wintertime, unless it's like a specific like type of fish, a bunch of fish like go into hibernation, I guess. So I'm gonna go ahead and like leave the fish out of this pond. Now the next thing I want to do, let's go ahead and add a couple more effects with like these. I guess they're called, or I guess not they're called, but I guess we'll add a little bit of effects with acorns to add a little bit of something extra to the actual map. Because I don't want to place like too many props, because if I place too many props, then it's going to take away from like the style of the map that I want to go for. I want to keep this like map kind of like a basic and kind of clean. And I'm doing that by just like placing a couple of props. Next thing that I'm going to do, I almost actually forgot about it. I need to add some shade underneath this tree. There we go. And I think this is gonna do it for our map, guys. Like I took care of all of like the jagged edges with the leaves. I added a couple of leaves in the center of the pond. We have a couple of leaves that are like on the side of the pond. I added one little like prop that will interfere with like our darts. Again, I didn't want to make this map too hard. I more wanted this map to be more about fun. All right, now the last thing we need to do, we need to go ahead and name our map, as well as actually beat our map, and then we need to post it, of course. Actually, there's one more thing I want to do, and I can't believe I forgot about this. Let's come over here to the background effects, and let's change the background effects to leaves. So now we have something moving in our background. So now that we've done all of this, the last thing to do is to go ahead and play our map. But before we play our map, let's go ahead and rename our map. So we'll name this map Mayan Remix, because this is more of a remix of Mayan. It's a remix that I personally like came up with using the pathway of the Mayan map. So the last thing to do is to go ahead and play our map. So like I was saying, this map is going to be pretty easy. We'll start off by placing our Quincy right here. We'll grab ourselves a dart monkey, and then we'll go ahead and place the dart monkey way over here. And it's working exactly the way that I thought it would work. Now we could have made it so like the balloons came in on the other side of the map. That way we would have had balloons coming from both sides of the map. But I think by having the balloons come in on the same side of the map kind of keeps it true to like the Mayan feel, because in BTD Battles 2, the balloons would come in on one side of the map, and then they would like exit on the same side of the map. But because this is a remix, we'll have them both exit on the opposite side of the map, kind of like making it our own version of Mayan. And of course, as I was saying, this isn't going to be too hard of a map, because I more wanted to make this map for fun. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of my remix version of the BTD Battles 2 Mayan map. All right, let's go ahead and upgrade our dart monkey up to sharpshooter. All right, so round 33, so far so good. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves another sharpshooter in the very back of the map, even though I'm fairly certain we won't need it, because we'll activate like Quincy's level 3 on round 40 and easily deal with the Moab balloon on round 40. All right, so here we are on round 40, and there we go. We have officially beaten the Moab balloon on our map. Now let's go ahead and share this map really quick. So if you guys would like to play this map for yourself, here is the code. And before I let you guys go, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for the support on the series of creating all of these different maps. I really appreciate it. You guys are absolutely crushing it with the likes and the comments. And speaking of that, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, if you guys are subscribed, please feel free to subscribe as well. I do upload a lot of Bloons TD6 content. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you dudes in the next one.